following case involves real events and unsolved mysteries. Based on factual reporting, it explores disturbing circumstances. Viewer discretion is advised. The darkness is real, and sometimes the truth remains hidden in the shadows.
It often begins with something mundane. A long drive. An unexpected stop on a lonely highway. The search for a helping hand. Sometimes, help arrives in a familiar shape. A sedan pulling over. An offer being made. A simple ride accepted out of necessity. But what happens when the helping hand belongs to a phantom? When the vehicle that stops leaves no trace, no plates to track? What happens when the ride doesn't end, but simply dissolves, leaving behind only questions in the vast, indifferent silence of the road? The highways that cut through the vast remote landscapes of the American West are arteries of travel, but also corridors of isolation. Miles can pass between signs of civilization, the silence broken only by the wind sweeping across the high desert plains. Help, if needed, can feel impossibly far away. It's in these stretches of lonely road that vulnerability becomes palpable, where a wrong turn, a breakdown, or a chance encounter can lead not to the intended destination, but into an enduring, unsettling mystery. Such is the case of Paul Anthony Flores. Chemult, Oregon. A small, unincorporated community nestled in the high desert forests of northern Klamath County. It's a stop along U.S. Highway 97, the Dallas-California highway, a major route flanked by the vast wilderness of the Fremont-Winema National Forest. This is a region of ponderosa and lodgepole pines, volcanic landscapes, where the stark daytime heat can quickly surrender to a biting nighttime cold, even in the summer. It's beautiful, remote, and historically, a place where people have vanished without a trace. In late July 2024, this remote stretch of Oregon became the last known location for Paul Anthony Flores. 40 years old, a resident of Stockton, California, Paul was described as Hispanic, short, around 5 feet tall, and heavyset, perhaps muscular, weighing about 210 pounds. He was bald, or kept his dark hair very short, with brown eyes, a mustache and a goatee, and distinctive full-sleeve tattoos on both arms, plus the word Stockton across his abdomen. It should be noted, this is a different Paul Flores than the one connected to the Kristen Smart case, though both originated in Stockton. Paul Flores was on a road trip, heading north from California towards Moses Lake, Washington. The reason for his journey isn't clear. Somewhere near Chemult, on Highway 97, Paul encountered trouble. He contacted family and friends, reporting issues with his car, the exact nature of which remains a frustratingly unclear detail, casting a shadow of doubt over the events that followed, especially given his vehicle was later found apparently operational. But on that day, Sunday, July 21st, 2024, Paul believed he was stranded. Without a lot of options, he then began the long walk, estimated between 30 and 60 minutes along the shoulder of that remote highway, a solitary figure against the immense landscape, just to reach help at the Pilot Travel Center in Chemult. In these isolated places, any offer of assistance can feel like a lifeline. From the pilot station, he sent a text message to his niece, letting her know he was getting a ride. Specifically, a ride back to his vehicle. His intention seemed clear: retrieve his car. Surveillance cameras at the pilot station captured his last confirmed sighting. Paul Anthony Flores was seen getting into a white Toyota Camry driven by an unknown male. The footage reportedly too unclear to make out his face or for his family to identify him. Critically, the report indicates the Camry appeared to have no visible license plates. Paul Flores got into this car with this unknown driver, presumably heading back towards his own vehicle on the side of the highway. And then, he was never seen again. He vanished. After accepting a ride from an unknown man in a white Toyota Camry that may have lacked license plates, Paul Anthony Flores disappeared into the remote Oregon landscape. The brief interaction at the Pilot Travel Center, captured imperfectly on camera, became the last known trace. The highway carried them away, leaving behind an unnerving silence and the start of an agonizing wait for Paul's family. As hours stretched into days without contact, concern solidified into alarm. Back in Stockton, California, Paul's family knew something was wrong. On Tuesday, July 23, 2024, 2 days after he was last seen, they officially reported him missing. The investigation immediately became a multi-state effort, primarily led by the Klamath County Sheriff's Office in Oregon, where Paul was last seen, but also involving the Stockton Police Department in his home state. Just 3 days later, on Friday, July 26th, Paul's vehicle was found. It wasn't found on the shoulder of Highway 97 where he had presumably left it. Instead, it sat abandoned on a forest road north of Chemult. The discovery only deepened the puzzle. Accounts suggest the car was operational, drivable enough, reportedly, for his family to later retrieve it and drive it home to California. This directly contradicted Paul's own report of car trouble and raised immediate questions. What was the initial issue? Had Paul fixed it by himself? Or had someone else moved the car after his disappearance? Information regarding whether KCSO forensically processed the vehicle before its retrieval hasn't been made public, leaving the car's potential evidentiary value unclear. The discovery site, a remote forest road, underscored the urgent need for physical searches in the challenging terrain of the Fremont-Winema National Forest. KCSO does possess search and rescue capabilities, including K-9 teams suited for wilderness tracking. Yet, official reports and subsequent news coverage are conspicuously silent on the details of any search operations conducted for Paul Flores. Was an extensive search launched? What areas were covered? What, if anything, was found? The lack of public information regarding the search effort itself forms a significant void in the case's narrative. Investigators pieced together the few leads they had: the ambiguous CCTV footage, the text message confirming Paul's intent to get back to his car, and then the detail emerging from online discussion needing official verification. A cell phone ping reportedly registered at 1:35 a.m., hours after Paul vanished, originating from somewhere in the forest off the highway. A fleeting electronic breadcrumb, hinting perhaps at Paul's location, or at least his phone's location, deep in the woods, long after midnight, but offering no clear answers. Only more questions. With an unidentified driver, a vehicle paradox, unclear search parameters, and only fragments of digital evidence, the crucial early days of the investigation yielded few solid leads. The trail, almost from the moment Paul Flores stepped into that white Camry, seemed to run cold, absorbed by the vast Oregon wilderness and the perplexing circumstances of his disappearance. We're deep into the troubling questions surrounding Paul Flores' disappearance. If these explorations into unsolved mysteries resonate with you, please take a moment to support the channel by liking the video and subscribing if you haven't yet. Your support allows us to continue bringing these important, often forgotten stories to light. Now let's examine the theories. With few concrete leads and Paul Anthony Flores seemingly vanished into thin air, the investigation stalled, leaving a vacuum filled by speculation and a growing list of unsettling questions. What could have happened in those critical hours after he accepted a ride on that remote Oregon highway? The theories largely fall into two divergent paths. The first, and perhaps most prominent given the circumstances, involves foul play connected to the unknown driver of the white Toyota Camry. Paul was last seen willingly getting into his vehicle. The driver remains unidentified. The car itself was suspicious, reportedly lacking visible license plates. Did Paul encounter someone with ill intent at the pilot station? Was the offer of a ride a pretext for robbery, abduction, or maybe worse? Without knowing the driver's identity or his motives, this remains a deeply concerning possibility. The second path considers the possibility of accident, exposure, or becoming lost. The report notes Paul's car was found abandoned on a forest road north of Chemult, away from the main highway. Could Paul have somehow returned to his vehicle, perhaps after fixing a minor issue by himself, and then driven onto the forest road, only to get stuck, lost, or suffer a medical emergency? The reported late-night phone ping placing his device somewhere in the forest off the highway could lend credence to this. The high desert environment near Chemult, with its potential for cold nights even in July, presents significant risks of exposure if one were lost or injured. This theory, however, still struggles to explain why he would drive onto a remote forest road or how he parted ways with the Camry driver. The possibility of a voluntary disappearance exists, as it does with any missing person case, but the available information offers little specific support for this theory regarding Paul Flores. His text to his niece indicated an intention to return to his car, suggesting a plan to continue his journey, not abandon it. Beyond these broad theories lie specific, frustrating ambiguities that hinder any clear understanding. The mystery of Paul's initial car trouble persists. What was wrong with the vehicle, and how was it seemingly operational when found by his family? Was the car examined for forensic evidence by law enforcement before being released? The reports don't say. The cell phone ping at 1:35 a.m. remains a tantalizing but unverified clue. Where exactly was this location in the forest? Did it represent Paul's location or just his phone? And what does its timing, hours after the last sighting, signify? And most significantly, the lack of public information regarding the official search efforts is confounding. In a disappearance within a vast wilderness area, details about the search are critical. Was a comprehensive grid search performed? Were K9 units deployed effectively? What did they find or fail to find? The online world has engaged with Paul's case, particularly a Facebook group run by his family seeking answers and sharing updates. Online forums like Reddit host discussions dissecting the available details. While these communities can help maintain awareness and sometimes surface useful perspectives, they also navigate the same limited information and inherent speculation that surrounds the case. Each theory, each question, circles back to the same unknowns: the driver, the car, the missing hours, the ping in the woods, the condition of Paul's own vehicle. The remote, expansive landscape of Klamath County serves as both the backdrop and potentially an active participant in the mystery. A place easy to get lost in, geographically and metaphorically. As of April 2025, more than 8 months after Paul Anthony Flores vanished near Chemult, Oregon, his case remains officially open and unresolved. He is still listed as a missing person by both the Klamath County Sheriff's Office and national databases like NamUs. The most notable recent activity has been administrative, updates to his NamUs file, including photographs provided by his family. But substantive breakthroughs, definitive evidence, or answers to the core questions surrounding his disappearance have not emerged. The mystery endures, centered on that fateful decision on July 21, 2024. For the family of Paul Flores, the lack of answers means ongoing uncertainty and advocacy, represented by their efforts online to keep his case visible. His disappearance serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent in travel through isolated regions and the profound challenges faced by law enforcement when individuals vanish into the vast, remote landscapes of the American West. Until new information surfaces, his fate remains an open question, lost somewhere in the silence of the Oregon high desert. What is your theory on what happened after he accepted that car ride near Chemult? Which details in this case strikes you as the most significant or perplexing? Share your thoughts, perspectives, and theories in the comment section below. Let's discuss the possibilities. As the investigation into the disappearance of Paul Anthony Flores remains active, authorities urge anyone with information, no matter how insignificant it may seem, to come forward. Please contact the Klamath County Sheriff's Office at 541-883-5130 or the Stockton Police Department at 209-937-7911. You can reference KCSO case number 24-1889, Stockton PD case number 24-22175, or NamUs case number MP133255. If you appreciate these in-depth investigations into complex and unresolved cases, please consider subscribing to the channel and enabling notifications so you won't miss out on our next journey into the shadows. Next time, we travel back to Pennsylvania, 1988. A young woman, Anna Jean Kane, is found brutally murdered along a desolate trail. DNA is collected, but the case goes cold, leaving investigators frustrated for decades. 2 years after the murder, a chilling anonymous letter arrives at the local newspaper, signed by a concerned citizen, revealing intimate details only the killer should know. DNA from the envelope matches the crime scene, but the sender remains a ghost. For nearly 35 years, the case gathers dust. And then, a breakthrough. Using advanced genetic genealogy on a decades-old envelope, investigators finally get a name. Can science close a case that has been open for 3 decades? Join us as we unravel the twisted path to identifying Anna Jean Kane's killer, a story of hidden clues, a taunting letter, and forensic technology reaching back decades to expose the truth.